Yeah. Cool. Good cue. For no reason. Stephen Pearcy, thank you. Jim, you're welcome. It's just me right now. Is he coming? Oh, he's coming in. Okay, good. I thought he was going to be like really late. And we will be taking calls. What's the number, Travis? Before you're fired.
Whoa. 866 wow.
866-969-1969. Wow, whatever Travis just said. If you'd like to call in and maybe ask Stephen Pearcy a question, he's here promoting his new book. It's called Sex, Drugs, Rat and Roll, My Life in Rock. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, how are you?
We're on the air, so take a seat.
Right here, okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, you have the you're carrying a different book than I'm promoting for you. Okay.
Yeah, we're trading, me and Martha.
Oh, you saw her outside?
No. I will be just swapping books. She'll get mine tomorrow, and I just got her. She just left this for me.
You know, I saw them. They were here before. They were kind of walking by, and they went out to do the View. And I had to get a picture with them because, like, that was a big part of my life growing up in the 80s was watching the VJs.
Yeah, if you look at these wonderful photos, she was... where is that?
He's looking for.
Oh, yeah, there she is. I had to put that in there.
She doesn't look, I'll tell you, she does not look that much different now. Like, Martha's one of those people who has aged really well.
She's a sweetheart.
And Nina Blackwood. You ever see a movie called Vice Squad? It was...
No, Nina, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Nina Blackwood?
Well, her, I said, because we were talking about this book this morning.
She played a prostitute in a movie called, that was the first time I ever saw her, was a movie called Vice Squad, where she got she got beaten to death early in the movie. She filmed it before she became a VJ.
Nice part.
Yeah. It was
Before a VJ, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. And then she became the VJ, and I guess the movie came out and kind of, embarrassed her. But, so I literally got this book. I'm very disappointed because I got it last night. I'm already on page 60. It's fucking fantastic.
Well, it would take like I've said, probably, in these interviews, it would take probably about 10 books, and, I've got like literally boxes and boxes of personal photos. I was a picture fanatic.
Yeah.
On the road. I'd take pictures of the audience, anything happening backstage, on stage,
I'm the same way, and I find it's that people are like, why do you take so many pictures? It's like, because if it's not for now, it's when you look back 15 years from now, you're like, fuck, I remember that moment or that guy.
Sure, and it's crazy because I do come across some pictures and I just go, oh, man, I didn't know this went down, Some crazy and some cool.
Right, some shots you taking a blackout and you're like, oh, wow, that happened.
And so it's all good.
What inspired you to write? Because the book starts, it's really interesting where you're talking about, I guess, being really fucked up and you're trying to cut your daughter's umbilical cord.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to get misconception. It's like, the baby was in the hands of out of the mom and her mom. And I was just waiting there and first to hold her, actually, and then, you got that bit of cord left, and I was just amazed. It wasn't me being, wasted. I was just amazed how sharp these surgical scissors were, and they couldn't cut to this little cord, I was like, wow, they embellished a little bit on that, but, I was just amazed. Aren't these surgical? And I'm not that high, am I?
But you are a little high.
I was a little high, yeah.
How did that change you, that experience?
It changed my life. When I had my daughter, it just immediately just changed my life. I just cried right there, wow, I got a new human to take care of now. Finally, somebody besides myself,
Right. And that made you want to sober up?
It changed everything. Yeah.
Did you get sober after that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Robin, our guitar player, when he passed, that was when it really went down too. It was a wake up call.
Had you guys known that he was not doing well?
Yeah, we did. And I knew what was going down, what he was doing. Throughout the years, even being, partying and stuff, we used to, when we do video shoots, we'd have to, me and Phil Schwartz, who I talk about in the book, real good security guy of mine, concierge dude, and friend, we used to like stash his, we took a gun from him actually, and we'd, find his shit and we'd throw it away. And
why did you take the gun? Were you afraid that he was going to harm himself or somebody else?
Well, he obviously had the gun to go when he went to score, and So when we were doing the detonator video, which lasted like 2 weeks, he would disappear at lunch, and where in the hell is he? He'd show up like 2 hours, 3 hours later, and we finally just went, oh shit, went through his stuff and went, we got to get this thing out of his hands,
At that time, too, you were, I guess, active as well and partying and doing your thing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it's always, I guess,
all of us were.
You always try to find somebody who's, like, in worse shape than we are to look at and go, well, if I ever get, like, that fucked up, I'll slow down or I'll stop.
We kind of made sure we were all in check to some degree, but, when you're all doing your own trip, But I guess Robin and I were pretty much the ones who were the worst, worse for wear, if you call it that. We were functioning, dysfunctional, addicts per se.
Was there a point where you felt like, or what point did you feel like it just totally got out of control? How long into the whole, being a rock star? Or was it before that?
It wasn't even in the band. It was, I left my own band after the Detonator tour. We were just fried. I was fried. We had been touring record, 250 shows a year. It was ridiculous. It was cool for a few years. But then, when you don't start remembering it a year or two,
right,
it's time to stop. And I did. I said, I've got to get away from this for a few years, and I did.
Did you guys, as the 80s were coming to a close, did you see, like, when grunge was happening or the music scene was kind of changing, did you see that at all as a threat to what you were doing?
No, it was, everybody has such when people say that, did grunge kill rock? No, of course not. It was just taste in music and climate. It had nothing to do with grunge. Where are they now?
Right.
Who's left standing? I don't care if you label it as hair metal or whatever. To me, it's just rock and roll. It's Ratt and roll, We're still here. We're still doing big shows. We're still making records, thank God. And it's more of a privilege now. But, when I hear that grunge killed rock, metal, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's like every X amount of years, there's just, like, these people's taste changes.
Yeah.
But then what was popular now, that kind of,
what killed it is the oversaturation of the new copycat bands that came after the Motleys and the Ratts and the Wasps and the Quiet Riots.
Right.
And we were our own genre, 81, 82, 83, 84. And once we all these type bands got started, what happened after that was everybody had to have a Ratt or a Motley or something. That's what killed it. It just got corny. It just got stupid.
Well, it's like anything else. They were trying to find guys that looked the part as opposed to guys
they made them the part. They built their own little mini Ratts and, whatever per se. And some of the bands were good. I'm not going to take that away from them, to each his own, But it's all in the pudding, Are you still around? You still working? You still making records? You still act? That's what tells the story.
Do you think 80s metal I think it gets a bad rap sometimes because people say hair bands like it's a dismissive thing. But you know what I mean? But there's a lot of really good music.
Of course it's good music. That's all it is music. And even when we started, we didn't try to keep up with the Joneses, Ratt. We didn't want to be press darlings. We didn't care about telling you our exploits, what we did, who we banged, drugs we did. We just did our own thing, stealth, Zeppelin style. That's how I wanted us, and that's how we were. So, all that did was just keep us out of the limelight a bit. We were going to sell records anyway, regardless if it was platinum or gold or double, triple, whatever, if your music's good, it's good.
There's an interesting part, or again, early in the book, too. Usually when someone writes a biography, they'll set it up with something interesting. And then a lot of times the childhood stuff is slow, but yours certainly was not. It was really, really interesting to read. And can you talk a little about how you came up? Because it wasn't a very typical, you seem like you grew up with some violence and some real unpleasantness.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. The reason I did it was just to give a perspective of, how I got into this. I should be racing cars. I shouldn't,
That was your first love, right?
I literally got into music by default, by just, an accident, literally.
What happened?
Well, I run over and busted both legs and ended up in the hospital for about 5-6 months, on my back. And that was it. They said you're irreparable if you break your legs, so don't think you're going to race.
So when you broke your legs, you were completely laid up. Was there a point where you thought you might not walk again?
Yeah, 100%. They didn't think my legs were going to heal. Well, as a matter of fact, they weren't healing for a long time. I mean, I'd sit there in the hospital and push on my femurs, and I'd hear them click. Just.
Which meant that
and then they finally went in and did bone grafts and wires and rods and pins, and after a time, I started to heal, and I had to learn to walk again.
How old were you?
Wheelchair to crutches to
You were a teenager?
Mm-hmm. Teenager.
It's weird, too. Like, I guess when you go from something where you think you might not walk again, so when you when you start to realize you're going to, all right, I'm going to have a little bit of mobility, and when did you realize, like, wow, things are going to be completely okay?
Well, I mean, I'm just a hyper person anyway, and they weren't okay for a while, because even when I got out of the wheelchair, I don't think it's in the book, I was so active on the crutches, one of the rods in my legs had metal fatigue, and it started coming out through my back. It started slipping through the femur, and literally was bending, and if it would have imploded in my leg, I would have lost my leg. So I had to go in and, get that pulled out, another one put in, more wires, more pins, and then, after, okay, you could use one crutch now, and then a cane, and then, then I was okay.
And I think you said that at that time you're in the hospital, you have 2 busted legs, and somebody brought you a guitar, and that was kind of your first introduction to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, a guitar, and, I just, what else are you going to do? I just kind of adapted to it. I mean, I was a fan of rock music, but I wasn't a fanatic rock music dude until I was actually playing this guitar, and my sister's boyfriend taught me some chords, and and then asked me to sing, and then started just going from there.
I was amazed that you talk about being in the hospital, and every guy's fantasy is to fuck a nurse.
Or an orderly, or a candy striper.
Anybody that
candy
works.
stripper, I call them.
and you picked off a few while you actually did the porno thing while you were truly injured.
Well, I mean, look, I was in there. I was the second longest term patient in this hospital, it's Doctor's Hospital in San Diego. So I decided, look, if I'm going to be in here, I'm going to live in here, and we'd have little pony keg parties. I'd smoke pot in there, and they'd give me my meds, and I'd take a couple hits of weed, and I was astroplaning, and the girls come by. Of course, I was a teenage boy, man. I wanted to get something.
Yeah, but how do you pull that off? That's I would have wanted something too, but it's just that they probably wouldn't have agreed to it. That's the amazing part.
I don't know. I was just some long-haired hippie kind of kid, and I don't know. Who knows? So I got it though. It was kind of cool. You just move the wires and the ropes out of the way, and they sit on you and go for it.
And you talk about it's interesting. You talk about being an addictive person, and like you talk about therapy, and him asking you if you think that you're a sex addict.
Yeah.
And so you think what do you think about that as far as it just being alcohol and drugs, or do you think it kind of went further back?
I'm, as far as the sex thing, I mean, I'm just like any other, male who wants to get laid, except, later on when you get this gold platinum debauchery card, you can pretty much do what you want, and I did.
What was it like? Again, when you're in that position and you have platinum records, and you guys have sold 15 million albums. I mean, was it 9 or 10 platinum and gold records? I mean, it's just
God. We're still getting them, thank God. But it's all good.
Yeah,
I don't count. It's never cared then, don't care now.
But when you're in that position and you're on top of the world and you're doing shows, what exactly is the process of, okay, I want to sleep with a groupie? Because you can't go out in the audience and meet them.
Oh, sometimes you can. No, I'd send people out there, my guys out there. Look, I watched Van Halen very closely in the early days before, and I told myself, and my band, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to be big rock,
Well, how did they do it?
Well, they did it right. That's all.
Well, do you send a guy out to
Yeah,
pick?
sure, and it kind of became the norm, you know, it's a signal or whatever, and then, you know, you meet girls before and during and after, and it's just one of those things. And then we'd load up a couple rooms with about 50 girls and kind of go in there and look and take your pick, and that's it. You have a party.
Now, would you get any? Believe me, your life, that's a much different life than a comedian leads. Would you ever like get a girl into the dressing room and then she was like, "Oh no, I just wanted to talk." Like,
sure.
would you get that shit too?
Yeah, and that's cool. You can talk, you know, but the ones who knew what was going on, you know. And I mean, I just wasn't some sexual deviant dude. I mean, I had relationships that were all copacetic, but, you know, until I got locked into marriage or something, I was going to do as I please, you know, respectfully, you know. You
tell a good story, too. This one kind of, and I know it creeps you out, was you said you guys were on like a big Midwestern or Texas tour, and a woman brought her daughter by named Cinnamon. And
well, I call her Cinnamon.
Oh, that was just the name. Okay. But what exactly was the story with that? Because it was a very odd one.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, this woman came backstage with, you know, her daughter, and it happened a couple times, the same person, and just tried to pawn her kid off on me, you know, and I was just like, shit, you know, this is trippy, you know. How old is she, first of all? And second of all, did you do this when Motley came through or any other band, you know? And
was the kid of age?
Yeah. But just the whole trip was just weird, you know. I mean, look, you know, we've had, you know, husbands offer their wives and girlfriends, and, you know, I mean, it's just trippy, you know. It's the weirdest occupation possible.
Did you ever take? Because I've gotten the weird emails about the husbands. Hey, my wife wants you to fuck her. Did you ever take a husband up on it?
No, me personally, never, no. And it was always very upsetting when, you know, you'd find out, hey, you know, my girlfriend. It's like, shit, well, keep a tighter leash on that person, man.
Oh, you got guys who were mad at you, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you know, it's like, you don't know. I mean, you know, people would come on the bus. And then it got to where we actually just got smart about it. Like, hey, look, you married, you're this, you're that. There's enough out there. We don't need to, you know, take advantage of somebody's, you know, woman per se.
Yeah, because then you just somebody fucking hunting you with a pistol.
Well, it's just ridiculous, you know. And if it happened, well, don't blame us, you know. It's like shit happens, but you know, I personally stayed very clear of, you know, that kind of a scene.
If you could help it, yeah. If you knew.
Totally.
And you also, you became friends. I'm kind of jealous of this. I met Kinnison once. In my life. I just got to talk to him for 5 minutes. I was very new and doing an open mic, and he came in from the big room and he talked to some of the young comics, and he was really, really nice. And you
very
were
nice.
kind of a part of you were in the Wild Thing video, and you got to know him pretty well.
Yeah, he was cool. You know, he'd have these parties, and you know, for years we'd hang out with him, you know, and I mean, talk about partying. Jesus Christ, the guy had more drugs and pussy around than most rock dudes.
He did, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was nuts. I mean, I've go to a studio and you'd all these people there, and you know, a bowl of coke. I was never really into blow, so you know, that was, you know, but it was pretty crazy.
What was your thing? If you weren't into coke, what did you find yourself really taking to?
Sex and drugs.
But I mean, but what kind of drugs?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't into the smack and stuff until later, but I never got into the spiking, you know. That was later on stuff I did. I was pretty much into the, you know, the drinking and, you know, the girls and things like that.
Did it? Do you think it hurt the progress of the band? Because you guys did so well. It's kind of hard to say, hey, I got to quit doing this when the band is doing so well.
It took its toll sometimes, sure. You know, when you got, like, you know, Robin said in one of his last interviews, you know, you got to do something to get up, you got to do something to stay up, you know, do something during the show, you got to do something to go to sleep after the show, you know. But then again, you know, we never really had a break. You know, this Ratt was constantly on the road, in the studio. I mean, it was like we never had a moment. I mean, if we had some time off, maybe we would have had a little bit perspective on, you know, actually what we were doing to ourselves, and, you know, but, you know, didn't happen.
So now here you are in this position where you're kind of, you know, you've gone through everything, and you're sober, and you're still out on the road. And how do the younger bands treat you? I mean, is it kind of nice to be like, because you talk about when you first saw Van Halen, or when you first heard about them when you were in LA, and now people will talk. Younger musicians talk that way about you.
Yeah, well, God, it's cool if they, it's cool when new bands dig you, respect you, and it's a compliment. I don't, I wouldn't give them any advice, but to just try to keep it together and make good music.
How psyched are you about the new Sabbath song? It's all I'm thinking of.
Oh, I think it's great.
It's fucking fantastic,
yeah,
right?
It's way cool.
It's always weird when your favorite band puts out something and you're not like, it's been 35 years other than, Selling My Soul and Psycho Man and Fusion. And you're like, how is this going to be? It's scary almost. When a band you love that much is putting out something after a long time, it becomes scary. You don't even look forward to it. And then when it finally comes out and you're like, oh, fucking thank God.
Yeah, I mean, look, the last Ratt record we did, it was 10 years. And we're getting ready to do another record. And we'll have our shit together this time a lot more.
Yeah, were the critics kind to you, or were they? How did they treat you throughout your career? And does it matter to you?
It's all right, and no, we tried to keep Gene. We tried to, stay out there, keep in the mix, do what you had to do, the MTV, the this and that, but we really didn't try to make ourselves into some media darlings or like we were always needing to be in the press, and so. That kind of maybe hindered some popularity per se from what people back then expected. Like, oh, they're not crazy enough. Well, that's cool. We were. We just didn't need to tell you, everything. We were pretty much a champagne against a Jack Daniels kind of a thing, Stealth. I mean, look, I was a big fan of Zeppelin and liked that whole aura of just doing our thing undercover, dancing undercover,
Did any of those guys back then, and this is something I've had to know because there was all these spandex and leather pants, did any lead singers stuff their pants?
No, everybody claimed I had socks in mine or something, and I'd say, hey, if you want to check it out,
I'm thinking more of a Bruce Dickinson photo, the famous Bruce Dickinson photo where he's got his fucking foot up on the thing, and it's like it looks like he's got like a fucking an arm in his pants. I'm like, that's stuffed because that's what I would have done.
I don't know. I've heard that about people saying stuff, and it just cracks me up.
Is that a wrong question to ask?
No,
not
not
other
at
singers'
all.
penises. Fucking grown man, and that's what I'm asking you. Sorry. Well, the book is called "Sex, Drugs, Rat and Roll: My Life in Rock," and you are doing signings too.
Yeah, tonight at Bookends in Jersey.
Yeah, I have
6 o'clock. It's going to be cool, and then I move on. We've got a couple Ratt shows coming up.
TheRatPack.com is the website, and you can also May 9th it's Changing Hands in Tempe, Arizona bookstore, and then May 11th Book Soup, which I think is on
in
Sunset.
Hollywood. Yeah, in Sunset, and then I have a whiskey show on the 12th, a solo show, and I'm going to sign some books after that. We got a couple Ratt shows during this, so it's kind of cool.
And again, I've unfortunately got this book yesterday, and I've read about 60 pages, and what I've read is great. So good luck with it, and I appreciate you coming in. And they're telling us that you have other interviews. So Steve Pearcy, and the book is available as of today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you
man.
very
Appreciate it.